Good morning, Samreen.
Good morning, Susan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am well.
Good, good. So this morning, I was hoping you could share some information with us about the 990 form that the sections have to do for the IRS.
Absolutely. So let me know. We'll go through a bunch of slides, which we put together. Just some basic information for the 990N. But you tell me whatever your questions are, and we'll go through them.
All right, sounds good.
Doesn't like some things will auto order.
So just to initiate, a 990N is the annual form that most small tax-exempt organizations file to satisfy their annual reporting requirement. The main criteria for that is the gross receipts or collections for the year are usually under $50,000, 50,000 or less. The gross receipts are the total amount that the organization receives from all sources during its annual accounting period before you subtract any costs or expenses.
So Samreen, if I have 25,000 in the bank and I get 30,000 in for the year, is it all the total or is it just what I got in that year?
It's what you got, what you collected in that year. It doesn't matter what you have in the bank. It's what you collect in that particular year.
Okay, so not my savings, but just what came in that one year. Great,
Correct.
thank you.
Correct. How the 990N is usually filed is you go to the IRS website, and the website is listed here, and you sign in using your login.gov ID, or you can create a login for yourself at id.me. Unfortunately, there's no paper form for the 990N, so it has to be done online. Sometimes organizations receive an error message when they log in if there's a mismatch between the username that they're typing versus what the IRS has. In that case, a helpful number to have is this 1877 number where you can contact the IRS and there will be live help. They can reset your usernames and passwords. The due date for 990Ns for a calendar year filer is the 15th day of the 5th month after the close of the tax year. What that basically means is if you're a calendar year exempt organization, you will file a 990N by the 15th of May. Did you have any questions on that, Susan?
No, that's pretty clear. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. So some of the questions that I have encountered as an accountant for 990N filers are some of these that we narrowed down, and we can go through them if you would like.
That sounds great. Thank you.
So what happens if some of the entities ask us, what happens if I failed to file the 990N? The quickest remedy is go ahead and file whenever you discover that you haven't filed your 990N, because there are certain consequences. If you continue to not file the 990N for 3 consecutive years, you may have your tax exempt status revoked. If that happens, we get to the second question. Can an organization have its tax exempt status reinstated if it was revoked for failing to file for 3 consecutive years? Yes, but you must apply or reapply and pay the appropriate user fee to have your tax exempt status reinstated. An exemption application is required even if the organization was not originally required to file an application. Reinstatement of exempt status, if the application is approved, would generally be effective on the date the application was filed. And it's effective to the first day that you basically failed to file for that year. So let's say the 3rd consecutive year is 2023, but now you are reinstated. You can go back to 2020 and you're good as new, basically, to file the 990N. Did you have any questions on that, Susan?
No, that makes sense.
Super. And then the lowest tier or the lowest gross receipts category is the 50,000 or less, which is the 990N. But some of the sections may have more than $50,000 in collections. If that's the case, then you have to file the 990EZ, and that can be filed on paper or electronically, but that's the range of $50,000 to $200,000. That's who files the 990EZ. And another question we encounter is, can I file the 990N in a consecutive year if I filed a 990EZ for a prior year? And the answer is yes. If the entity meets the $50,000 or less criteria for that year, then yes, you can file the 990N. You can switch between 990EZ and 990N annually, but if you're filing a regular 990, then you cannot switch. So as long as you're filing a 990N or a 990EZ, you can switch between those forms.
That makes sense. Well, Samreen, thank you so much for sharing this information. I think this will really help our sections. And if they send me any questions, I'll be sure to send them to you right away.
Sounds good. We're here to help anyway.
All right, thanks so much.